Hello everyone, this is Satyaprakash. Welcome to my channel. This is part 7 of ASP.NET Web API. In this session, we'll discuss how to add entity framework in Web API project and how to retrieve the data using SQL Server. So you can go through these videos in my playlist called ASP.NET Web API tutorial, and this is related to the part 7 of this current video. Okay, I'll go to my presentation here. So in this video we'll discuss that I'll create a table in my database using SQL Server and how to add ADO.NET entity data model to retrieve the data or entity framework. So first of all, I open my SQL Server. I already have created the one table called employee date, right? This is the script to create a database, to create a table in the database. After then, I have inserted few dummy data in my table called employee date here. So for your reference, you can create this table as well as insert some data as mentioned here. So after then, if I'll select this employee date table, I got the result here, whatever data I have inserted into the employee date table. So this is all about how to create the table and the dummy data into the table inside the database of SatyaDB and using SQL Server. So and next one is I will add one ADO.NET entity data model to retrieve the data. So this is my project called Web API coding. So one project I need to create called class library. So project. So here right click on it and add here new project. And here I'll add one class library. So you can see here one class library here, right? .NET framework. So here I put my name it as employee data access. And select OK. So guys, here you can see that the employee data access is created. This is the class library into our project, and here the class1.cs is auto class is created by this class library. So I don't want this class1.cs, right? So what I'll do here is I'll delete this class1.cs. Okay, I don't need this. So next one is what it is. I just save these changes. So next one is, guys, what I'll do, I'll install the entity framework package into my project. So what I'll do here, I'll go to tools, and here is a new get package manager. Select here as manage new get package for solution and click on it, and here I need to select here browse, and I'll type here entity framework and select this one, and got one entity framework. So select this one. So when I selected, it shows for project both here as employee data access and web API coding. So here select here all these things and install it. Okay, I do not need to select here. So it starts installing and I click here, I accept. So you can see guys, a new entity framework is installed. So if I'll select here install tab, you can see here entity framework is installed successfully to my solution here, right? And if you want to check again, just go to tools, NuGet package manager, manage NuGet package for solutions, install tab, and check here entity. Okay, I'll type here entity framework, select here. You can see entity framework is installed for our solution. So how to check whether entity framework package is installed or not? You should select here web API coding, go to reference, and you can see there is one DLL file is available in our reference folder called entity framework and entity framework.sql server. So that means entity framework is installed into my solution. So next one is I will create the edu.net entity data model. For that, what I'll do, I just right click on it, this class library, and select here add and a new item, and it will show one pop-up. I select here data from the left pane and select here edu.net entity data model, right? And I'll mention one name called EMP model. So this is my name of the edu.net entity data model, and I select here add, and on the entity data model widget we need to select here entity framework designer from database and click next here. And in this screen, on the next screen, I'll click here new connection. So this new connection is asking me about what is my server name of SQL Server. So I'll go to my SQL Server to check here, just check here this one. So this is my server name. I copy, go to my Visual Studio, and here if I want to authentication, I want Windows authentication, and we don't need to SQL Server authentication, so no need to select here. If you select here SQL Server authentication, then you need to put here username and password. So as per my understanding or reference, I'll suggest you that we need to give here as Windows authentication for that, right? So no need to give here the username and password for SQL Server authentication. So what I'll do here, I select here Windows authentication and enter the database name it asking. So I'll select here the appropriate database, and we check the connection. It is okay for me, it is succeeded. And what I'll do here is, after that one, in this database my table name is there, that is employee date. That's why I'm selected this SatyaDB database and click OK. And you can see one connection string is auto generated. It is my SatyaDB entities. It is my app.config file will be generated it is the connection string settings as available in SatyaDB entities. I'll click here next. And guys, here it is asking which framework you want. I want the latest one, that is Entity Framework 6 point, because I have installed it, and select here next. And which table we want, so I just expand this one. I want employee date table, so I selected this one. And after then what I'll do here is I'll click here finish. So model namespace is SatyaDB model, and I select here finish. So it is asking that is running this template can potentially harm your computer. Don't run it if you obtained it from untrusted source. So I want it, and I select here don't show this message again, and click OK. So guys, here I can see the interface of EDMX as shown here, right? You can see some changes has been made to my class library project. If you collapse this one, I'll show you. One app.config file is created. So if I'll select this one, so it contains the connection strings whatever generated during creation of ADO.NET entity data model. You can see here all these connection string related things are generated. Data source is my SQL Server data source name, and here the catalog is my DB name, database name SatyaDB, and all these things as mentioned here. So it is a Windows authentication, so it is not mentioned here username and password for SQL Server authentication. So provider name is satya.system.data.entity client. So this file contains the connection string, and it contains one EDMX file EMP model. If you'll expand this, it contains the ADO.NET entity data model related files, and one file is generated that is employee date.cs, that is similar to my table name. If you'll select this, so all this this column names whatever in my employee date table, it is also mentioned in my this class file called employee.date.cs. So ID, first name, last name, gender, and it is a nullable salary column here, right? So you can same here see as the employee date and EDMX file. It contains all the column names here as a parameter. Okay guys, so this is all about how to add ADO.NET entity data model. Next one is using the entity data model in our project web API coding, that is the web API project. So using entity data model in our project web API project. So how to do this? So right click on the references folder, right, and click here add reference. So in add reference on reference manager screen, you can see here employee data access, that is the class library it is showing as a reference. So I'll select here, check here this employee data access project, and click OK. So guys, here we can see here the reference or DLL file is shown in my reference of web API project, that is employee data access, right? It is a DLL file, so whatever features available in my class library project, we can access all the properties and class, everything in our web API project as a using the employee data access class library project as a DLL file, right? In this way we can add the reference of employee data access class library project into our web API project, right? And okay, so this is all about how to add entity data model in our web API project. And next one is I need to create one web API controller. So what I'll do, right click on the controllers folder, and here what I'll do here, add new controller name, right? And here I'll select here so many controller it's mentioned, that is MVC5 controller for read or write actions, MVC controller with view using entity framework, but I need to select here as web API 2 controller and empty. So add, and here I need to name of this web API control name here as employee controller. So employee controller is the name of the web API controller name, so I here select here as add. So guys, here you can see employee controller is the web API controller is added. It is inherited from API controller, that's why it is a web API controller. And in my next video I'll show you add some code here for getting the employee data using get details and employee data using ID parameter, how to filter the employee data using ID parameter. In my next video I'll show this in detail. And so all these things has been added, the basic things to set up for the ADO.NET entity data model and create the table name in our SQL Server. So guys, here I need to save all these changes, save all, right? And what I'll do here is right click on my solution, clean solution, and right click on the solution, build the solution. So build is succeeded, no errors, no failed solution build process. It is all about whatever changes we have made, it is built successfully. So we have till now we have followed 4 steps. That is, first one is I have installed the entity framework package from NuGet package manager. Next one is I have created a class library project, and inside class library project I have added ADO.NET entity data model or entity framework. After then I have add the reference of employee data access, that is class library project, into our web API project. You can see here add the reference file, that is the employee data access. And next one is I have created one web API controller called employee controller.cs, right? And inside this controller I will add some code code to retrieve the data from employee date table, as well as to filter the employee date table using the employee ID. So I'll show you these steps in my next videos, and how to reflect this, how to check this employee data related details in using the Swagger. So I'll go to my presentation here. So this is my YouTube channel. Subscribe and share it to get the updated knowledge on .NET Core, C#, SQL Server, DevOps, Azure and GitHub. So in this video, what we have learned today is how to create a table in SQL Server database, and how to add the ADO.NET Entity Data Model or Entity Framework to retrieve data from the table. For table we have integrated during creation of ADO.NET Entity Data Model, and how to add the reference of class library project into our web API project. And before creating ADO.NET Entity Data Model, we need to install Entity Framework package from NuGet Package Manager using Visual Studio. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.